All right. I'd love to welcome everybody to the Make Wellness opportunity today for athletes and fitness professionals. And I want to start out by just being very transparent. I think it's very important. I asked specific people to be on this meeting because I think as athletes, I think as fitness professionals, I think a lot of times we're pitched a lot of things. We have a lot of influence that we've built over time, and because of that, we have a lot of responsibility, right? And so today, what I want to do is I want to start with a couple stories, and I want to try to, if I can, lower the walls because I know a lot of times somebody might have invited you on this and you just don't know what to expect. And so I think it's important just to know that we've all come into this industry with a little bit of scar tissue and a little bit of walls up. And so a little bit about my story. My name is Nate Tracy. I'm an IFBB pro, two-time national champ. I owned a gym, was a nutritionist. I feel like I was a psychologist as well, and obviously a personal trainer. My story actually starts back. I think a lot of athletes, you either start with insecurities or you start with pain at some point. And for me, it was my parents passing away in a car accident when I was 23 years old. And what it did is it forced me into a place to make a decision in my life where I had to go one way or another. To be honest, I was getting into drugs and alcohol, and I saw this guy totally transform at the gym, and I asked him what he was doing, and he said he was doing a bodybuilding show, and I said, you know what? I want to do that. And so I funneled all my energy and all my focus into that, and I created a name for myself. And so on the outside, over a period of years, I built myself to a very high level, and I created a following even before we had social media. I'm kind of dating myself, but this is back in '06, well, actually '01 all the way to 2010. And so, what we'd like to do today is we understand in anything, in athletics, or if we're training people, there's no lukewarm winners, right? Like you can't dabble your foot in and be successful at something. And so, what we want to do here is we want to give you a little bit of story, but also a little bit of education and allow you to make a decision that's right for you. But I'll tell you this, when I first stepped into this industry, even though I looked really, really good on the outside, I was struggling on the inside, and I hadn't got over the things of my past as far as my parents dying and that type of thing. And I'll tell you this, outside of just the products themselves, this is an amazing culture that I'm very proud to be a part of. And we keep bringing on more and more people because it weeds out the wrong people and it brings in the right people. And so I'm super excited to first kind of talk a little bit about our founder, because I think foundation is super important. I've been a part of two different direct sales companies prior to this. They were both great experiences. However, the foundation was a little bit brittle, if you will. And I bring up Justin Prince, the founder of this, because we've become very, very close over the last couple of years. He started out as a mentor to me. And you can see, if you read the little bio on him, he did in our last business $2 billion in revenue. That's a lot in this industry. But more importantly, it's the way that he did it. And to step into something where now he's a founder, he gets to see it from the inside, right? But then build something on the outside, and that protects us. The other thing is he surrounded himself with a team that has already done it in the past. So Truman Hunt was a CEO for Nu Skin for many, many years, brought them from 700 million to 3.2 billion. And he gets to oversee us as a chairman. And so it's just really nice to have somebody that's been in the industry for so long and wise. I could go on and on about Justin, Sarah, and Bob, and we've just got person after person. You see Tyler here. He was the CEO for Arbonne. He stepped down so that he could step into this because it's something special. You're going to hear from Mark Barlett in a few minutes, but I want to highlight Alan Jones, because Alan Jones was actually a close friend of mine. He's been in the industry for 35 years. He's formulated on both sides. He's formulated on building supplements, but also on the nutraceutical side. And when I first brought this to him and I said, hey, I want you to check this out because I love Justin Prince. I love what he's about. I love what he's building. It was very interesting because Alan was very skeptical. Now, Alan was getting his doctorate, and he's writing his thesis in sarcopenia, which is the study of lean body mass and actually losing it as we age. and how that leads to different types of things as far as autoimmune disease and that type of thing. Well, when he first heard about this, he's like, Nate, I don't think that you should get involved with this. And I said, okay. I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go check out, because they're partnering with a company called Neuritas. They're a 10-year-old company that's invested 100 million in AI and peptide research. If it's something that you don't think, then I'll think twice about it. If you don't think it's the right thing. He went and he studied with them and learned more about it. He came back and he could not stop talking about it. And again, I say this to you guys because we're all skeptics at a certain level. And the more that we're pitched something, the more, again, that we have our walls up. And so I think it's important to point these things out, that now Alan, I mean, he's our #1 fan in this business, and he's partnered with Mark. And so you're going to hear a little bit again from Mark in just a few minutes. So let me do this. I want to throw out a couple statistics, and it's funny because we're in an industry where we can't tell everything because we have the FTC that regulates us, but these are some numbers that we can share. And I just want to kind of let you know about, what we've done so far. We're 4 months into a pre-launch, and take a look at this. We have 200,000 in orders shipped. We have 20 million in commissions paid out. We have 100,000 customers. Now, here's the thing is most of the time when you have a direct sales company, they call it a self-consumption model. A lot of it is taken from the people that are actually doing the business. And we're all taking the products. However, to have 100,000 customers in 4 months of a pre-launch is huge. But this next number is even more important. This is our subscription, meaning this is our second subscription. It means that people aren't just ordering, they're not just reordering on a subscription, but on their second month, they're ordering again. That's a huge number in the industry of supplementation. Okay, so I wanted to point those things out before I brought on my good friend Tanji. And Tanji goes way back with me, and I'm excited to hear a little bit about her story because I spent about 12 years trying to recruit Tanji into something like this. And Tanji's a pro. I know you can read on the screen, what she's accomplished, but I remember when she first turned pro, and then worked her way up. She's a 12-time Miss Olympian. Like, she's been in the Miss Olympia contest 12 times. And then obviously you can see all her accolades, but it's more than just that, because she's the type of person that she's constantly bettering herself. She's done TED Talks, all kinds of stuff. So Tanji, I'm really excited for you just to kind of share I guess, the ups and downs of this business, and also, what it took for you to get into this and how it started to impact you.
Oh, thanks, Nate. Nate, you guys, is my brother from another mother. I love you. And that's so funny that you told everybody that you pursued me for 12 years, because I mean, I just respect you so much, so much. Never quit, never quit. Well, hi, everybody. It feels so good to be in a room with so many fitness professionals. I mean, if you're here, you're most likely a trainer or a coach or an athlete like I was. And I mean, you guys are my people, because I love connecting with other fitness enthusiasts and people who want to elevate everyone in their health, because we just know how much it matters. It's really, really, really important. So as Nate was saying, I come from the world of bodybuilding and fitness. I competed for over 18 years as an IFBB pro. And, when I look back at that time, I mean, I was living the dream, y'all. I had sponsors. I was traveling the world. I was pursuing excellence and coaching and leading teams. I loved it. And when I think about that time, my purpose for that time was just pursuing physical excellence. I wasn't even thinking too much about the future. Honestly, I was so focused on just winning. And for a long time, I believed that success was measured by my titles and my achievements and my wins. And, I had a lot of ego at that time. So can anybody relate? I'm sure a lot of us athletes had the same ego. But what that ego did was it made me say no to a lot of things, like the things that Nate was showing me, if I didn't think it elevated my status, because I was protecting this image. And it's not that I didn't have humility, because I did. I mean, I was coachable, I was willing to learn, I was grounded, but looking back, it was my ego that kept me from seeing the long game of what I wanted to be able to do in my life. And so, ego caused me to judge opportunities like this and shut them down. And so I want us to sit there for a second and think about judgment. You know, when we come from a place of judgment, it's typically fear driven and it's emotional and it's reactive. But a lot of times when we're judging, we are making decisions about things that we do not know about, right? And what we want to do when we make decisions is make decisions from a place of discernment, because discernment is going to be rooted in wisdom. It's more grounded and it has that awareness. And so that's what we encourage you to do today is when you're listening to what we have to share with you, make sure you're not coming from that ego-driven place of judgment, but more of that place of wisdom and discernment. But so it was, right? So it served me for the time that I was competing. And when I was done, I retired in 2016. You know, I continued to do the things I loved. I continued to train and coach and lead teams. And it was fun and it was fulfilling, but it just wasn't scalable. And it wasn't sustainable. And most of all, I wasn't evolving. So I don't know, for those of you that are in your fitness journey, I don't know if you're starting off and you're brand new, or if you feel like you're a master at what you do and you might already be getting bored like I was. But I've discovered that as I get older, you know, time became my most valuable commodity. And I became just really disappointed that I felt like when I looked at my future 10, 20 years from now, what I was doing was not creating the wealth that I felt like I deserved for all the sacrifices that I'd made. And so this is kind of a big deal for me, because this is when I shifted from thinking with my ego to actually thinking like a CEO. And it was from that moment on that when I started looking at everything I was doing, when I was looking at my business as an entrepreneurship, that's when I realized like everything in my brand, from my skills, my time, my energy, I needed to start thinking like a CEO. And so what that meant for me is I needed to look at systems and people and teams and figure out how was I going to serve the world and use my strengths in a way that was going to allow me to multiply my efforts and make a greater impact. And so I started redefining success as the ability to live life on my own terms. And that means that I was using my strengths to create impact, and that I was actually going to be intentional in how I built up this business portfolio that was not only going to create wealth and time flexibility, but leverage leadership. Okay. So today, you know, what does my life look like now? So now my husband and I own a sports chiropractic and wellness clinic in Bellevue, Washington. And even though we both still have a little bit of ego, not enough to blind us from what's in front of us, but just enough to scrutinize anything that we look at for efficacy, legitimacy, and alignment. And so for us, when we said yes to this particular company, four big things I want you guys to think about. Number one, the science behind the product. Okay. My husband's a chiropractor, so he's not getting into anything that is not backed by science. Now, I'm not even going to spill the beans. I'm going to let Dr. Bartlett tell you all about the products. But number two, the competitive advantage of timing. If you own a business, you know how important timing is. And so to be the first in this space and to bring this to the marketplace, we could not be a part of that, when everything about these products support metabolic health and basically everything that we believe in as athletes and as personal trainers and fitness enthusiasts. The product line itself aligns with who we are, but it's a platform that's going to last for decades, and we get to be a part of it right now. So those two things, we've got the science, we've got the timing, then we have the team. You know, I had a team when I was in the military. I had a team when I coached in fitness. And now it has been really refreshing to be able to do business, do life, do leadership with other affiliates in my team, where we collaborate and we leverage each other's strengths. And finally, you guys, when you think of formulas that make businesses work, they have to have good systems. And when you think about businesses like this, you know, if I'm just going to be back to the rat race of spending hours and hours and hours not duplicating myself, I'm not interested. So it's the systems that makes things successful. So when you guys look at this slide, this is part of what we have to offer. You know, of course, we have a simple QR code and link that everybody can share. So if you're an influencer, go for it. You know, you can just, I mean, it's amazing that people can do this. They can film themselves, you know, drinking a drink and then throw up a link. And if you've already done the work to build a massive following, you can do really, really well in a matter of days, right? For the rest of us who want to be organic and share with the people in our sphere of influence, that might look a little different. But the sharing is simple. We also have step-by-step proven systems. So if somebody wants to come in to be an affiliate, I'm not going to have to get on a 1-hour call with you to show you the website, show you your link. We have systems in place where I'm going to send you a link. And if you're self-motivated like you should be, you'll be able to take yourself through the tutorial and know exactly how to get started on learning about the products and sharing about the products. Everything is based in an app. And one of the things that I remember, you know, I was either sponsored by a company, which was time limited and short-lived, or if I was an affiliate these days, the sponsorships that I had don't even exist anymore. Now it's all affiliates, but most people are just making 10%. So we are offering 10 to 40% on recurring commissions. And this is why this business is so smart. I'm not in the clothes business, the skin business, the makeup business, because that's not stuff that people buy every month. People who want the lifestyle are going to invest in their personal health every month. They're going to be on subscription. And when you do the work to acquire a customer, you are now building a business with customers who purchase monthly. So imagine earning 10 to 40% monthly, 4 years, right? And then commission is paid daily. And like I said, we have an amazing, amazing leadership community. So these are some of the reasons that we said yes. And honestly, I feel really blessed that my brother Nate never gave up on me and just kept putting smart things like this in front of me, because it took me a while, but I'm on board, and Brandon and I are living the life of our dreams right now for the second time.
Well, and I'm honored to be working with you, and you guys, you know, I think what you get really good at in a business like this is recognizing when people are heartfelt, right? When they truly care to serve other people, and that's what creates a true following, right? It's easy to not, I shouldn't say it's easy. There's a lot of people that build on social media, but people don't truly know who they are. And with Tangi, it was very evident that she had true relationships, and so it was a very easy transition. I want to plant this one seed for those of you that are in the thick of your career right now, you know, talking about professional athletes, is you have a short window. You know, I've talked to a lot of football players, a lot of fighters, a lot of those that have that, you know, that 5-year window. And I know some athletics last a little bit longer than that, but can you imagine if you leverage that time where you're in the spotlight to build something for when you're out? Because I know myself, I know when I was in my 20s, and I know even into my 30s, I felt like it was never going to end, right? I felt like I was always going to be that high level athlete. And then all of a sudden your body starts to catch up. And so there's going to be a time where you have to shift that. And it's, for some people, it's really tough because it's an identity thing. But when you can tie something into this and you can continue it without those relationships that you had built during that time, it's really powerful. And here's the other thing, is if you have a significant other that is sitting home during the seasons, and you guys could be working together during that season where you're shuttling people to that significant other, now you have something that's really special that's creating a bond as well. So I wanted to plant that seed. Let's move on to Dr. Mark. And Dr. Mark, I put these two things up here, these 2 bullet points, because I wanted to point out, number one, not how old you are, but how long you've been in the industry. And more importantly, you guys, what I want you to look at is, you know, you look at Nu Skin and you look at Young Living, which are huge companies, but he oversaw staffs of 85 and 75 different scientists and doctors and developers that were developing products. I think that's super important to point out, number one. I'm going to hit you with a couple questions, but first, I just wanted you to do a quick intro on yourself.
Thanks. Yeah, that's an interesting observation, Nate. I do love people, and I love sort of making a difference, like moving the needle in people's health. You'll probably ask me questions later about how I ended up here, but you know, I'll be really frank. I'm not a rich man, but I don't need to work, right? Yes, I've got a lot of experience and I love what I do, and the reason why I'm here at Make Wellness is because I see an incredible opportunity to make a difference in people's health, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, and I love this model. I love what Tanji just talked about because I'm a firm believer in blue zones. And I think you guys know what that is, right?
Mhm.
And these are really important. And it's not just about health. It's not just about what you eat and what you exercise, but it's about community and connection. And this is the incredible thing about this model. And it's actually the reason why I'm still here, because I love this connection with you guys. So yeah, I'm the skinny chef. Like I'm the guy in the crowd of fitness professionals, and I've got the skinniest arms here. But I have a reasonable brain. I think you can trust that part at least.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you, I'm gonna ask you three questions. The first one is, you know, you started in cancer research and then obviously shifted to the direct sales channel and now to Make. Tell us a little bit about that journey and you know, what created that shift.
Yeah, I think the shift began when my career first started, which was like I've always had a fascination with plants. And so I started studying plant chemistry, how plants really basically pull carbon dioxide out of the air, photosynthesis, and make all of the molecules of life. So plants are nature's original biochemists. And as I started to become intrigued with how those molecules interact with the human body, that led me to immunology, to autoimmune disease, to cancer metastasis. And I just started really getting into the thick of this model of like, how do we cure disease? But I always had in the back of my mind that chemists they're inspired by the molecules from nature, but they modify them, they synthesize them, they make them more potent, but then maybe more toxic. And maybe there's a space for that. But my epiphany came like I was in the middle of doing cancer research at the National Cancer Institute, and I just said, you know what? The plants can keep us healthy. They have these molecules. Like, let's learn about how to use them every day. So that's what caused me to leave that sort of mainstream area and get into health and nutrition, plant-based. And that also involved a lot, interestingly enough, of peptides, because the immune system, the entire body communicates through these short chains of amino acids that have a shape and bind to receptors.
Okay, so that leads us to our second question. So I know the athletes that are on here, I'm sure that they know a little bit about peptides, but kind of tell us the difference between synthetics and natural. And, you know, I referred to Alan, you know, having that shift because all he prior to this had studied was the synthetics. Tell us the difference and why you feel like the natural is the way to go.
That is such a good question. And the reason is because most people that I come in contact with, and probably you too, their only frame of reference for peptides is these ones that they're seeing, right? The GLP-1 analogs and these, you know, Sermorelin and BPC 157. They're all synthetic injectables, right? So what's the difference? There are some, well, let me see. First of all, nature is the original biochemist. I always feel like the peptides from nature are super important. The other thing is that anything that is sort of synthesized, usually they are designed to have a very long half-life. What I mean by that is like, normally these peptides, these little molecules that the body produces or that plants produce, they have a super short half-life. They are designed to get the message in, to text the message, and then dissolve. There are systems in the body that break them down into amino acids. The synthetic ones have a long half-life generally. That's why they're so incredibly potent, right? So to give you an example, the body's GLP-1, which sort of helps signal the body to stop eating, you're okay. It has a half-life of 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, half of it's gone. Within 4 minutes, 3/4 of it's gone.
Wow.
The ones that are synthesized, they are designed to last for 1 week. Imagine that, like the fire alarm does not go off for a week until your next injection. And so there's a space for these peptides. They're doing incredible things for human health. But for healthy people, you do have to kind of assess, like, am I willing to take the risk for something that is so, has such an outrageously long half-life? The other thing about peptides in general, like these natural peptides, is they are like the safest thing that you can put in your body, in my opinion. Even plant bioactives have to go through detoxification pathways through the liver. But peptides, from nature are broken down by these peptidases. They turn into amino acids and they go back to creating muscle or more peptides. So it's a very safe approach.
Love it. Okay. So I talked a little bit about Neuritas, the company that we're partnering with, and how much money they've put in time into AI and peptide research. Will you explain a little bit more in detail about that? And then also let's jump into, we don't have time for all our products tonight, you guys. So we're going to talk about one product in particular. So we'll talk about the fit and just kind of that partnership with them.
Okay. Yes. You know, Neuritas are an incredible partner. They are a legitimate biotech company. And in fact, you know, just like Dr. Allen, when I first came here, I said, well, I've got to visit these people that are doing this stuff. Like I have to make sure for myself that everything that I'm seeing is real. I went to Dublin and visited these guys, and it's an incredible outfit. They're not the only ones doing it, but they're an incredible partner. And here's the magic, right? Like there have been peptides discovered 100 years ago, right? Insulin was discovered. They discovered a peptide in snake venom that became the first drug for blood pressure, right? ACE2 inhibitors. But they were almost accidental in terms of their discovery. They took painstaking, it was years. But for the last 50 years or so, scientists have been like digging into the structure of all of the receptors in the body, receptors in the muscle, receptors in the immune system. We have those structures and we know what shape of molecule fits into it. But where do you find it and how do you find it? You have to find it by actually understanding the sequence of DNA of all of the plants around you. And the sequence of that DNA is billions of base pairs, meaning representing billions of possible structures of amino acids. How do you even begin to find that? AI is the revolution that's happening. You can use artificial intelligence now to pass through absolutely mind-boggling amounts of data. And you can say, well, here's the receptor. I know the shape is going to be X. That means the primary structure of the amino acid is going to be, you know, A, B, C, D, E. Go find it in the fava plant or somewhere. And AI can just rip through the entire genetic code and say, well, I found 10 possibilities. Go test those. And then you have to test and make sure they survive the GI route, that they actually bind to the receptors that you want and activate them, that in human clinical studies, they work. So this is a model that we are obviously very enamored with because this gives us efficacy and substantiation. So that's why I'm pretty excited about our partnership there.
Okay. And then tell us a little bit about fit before we move on.
Yes. So you guys are all interested in muscle. And, you know, I think it's great to look good. But as a scientist, I look at muscle and go, dude, that is your youth right there. It is your metabolism. It's a huge organ that actually sort of runs the metabolism, all the biochemistry of your body. If you don't have enough muscle, if you're losing muscle, or if it's not good quality muscle, that actually impacts all of your biochemistry in all sorts of areas, including your sort of the weight management equation. So we're really interested in muscle, and that's probably one of our favorite peptides, right, is in FIT, developed through this AI model. And there are at least 2 peptides in that product. One of them binds to the hormone receptor on muscle. There's another receptor that's a nutrient receptor, right? Leucine, HMB, things like that activate it. But as you age, that receptor kind of tails off in terms of its impact. So if you can continue to trigger that growth factor receptor, then that's super important to maintaining muscle. Another thing that happens is that inflammation, which we all sort of more or less have, that also shuts off muscle synthesis and actually turns on muscle degradation. There is a peptide in our FIT that is also anti-inflammatory, turns down TNF alpha, and therefore sort of again helps preserve muscle. So the muscle equation is huge. And this is kind of an exciting area, but really just one of many platforms that we see for human health going into the future. We've got some really exciting ideas in the pipeline.
Yeah, I'm super excited because it sounds like, I mean, I get to meet them backstage at our last event, and it sounds like they're very interested in doing things exclusively with us. And so,
yes. And we're the gatekeepers, right? We're vetting not just this company, but other opportunities, other companies. Like it's good that we diversify a little bit as long as we continue to find verifiable, substantiated science so that you can be sure that the products work.
yeah. Well, let me give you a little plug because you guys, every Thursday night, both him and Alan, actually half an hour before we started this, They do a live most of the time. They recorded it this time so that he could be on, but they do a live for an hour where they're talking through these different products and educating you at a deeper level so that we're out there educating and we're not just, I mean, it's super important just to share stories a lot of times, right? We keep it simple, but to know the background of this and that we're not just doing this business on hype, but there's true science behind it. One of the things I want to highlight is, and we're not going to go deep into this, but we talked about our fit product that's designed for muscle. We also have a lean product that's designed to actually help with our hunger hormones. And if you take a look at these pictures, what you're going to notice is the midsection, the visceral fat. It attacks the visceral fat. And what they're seeing, the difference between this and like a GLP-1 is if a GLP-1, if they're not very careful of eating a lot of protein, exercising, doing all those things, which a lot of people aren't, they're taking those and they're just hoping for the best results. They're losing a lot of muscle. I think the statistics are showing 30 to 40%. Well, what we're seeing is 100% fat loss with lean, and 65% of it is targeted in that midsection. And so you'll see here, obviously you see Leanne, like she's wearing the same shirt. And this is a month or 10 days, and you're already starting to see in her waist how she's starting to lose that midsection fat. So I just wanted to kind of tease this a little bit. Again, plugging him for Thursdays. They're going to talk a lot about these different products and giving you guys tools to be able to move forward. All right, last person, and then we're going to let you guys go. And I'm super excited to introduce Matt Lowe. And Matt is a fellow bodybuilder. He's a natural. He won Mr. Colorado two years in a row. But more importantly, what I'm excited for him to talk about is the fact that he co-owns a lot of different health clinics that utilize peptides, both on the synthetic and the natural. And what I don't want to put out there is that we're trying to pitch one against the other. I think it's very important to understand there's a need for both of them. And when we can respect that and we can educate people, they can make the right choice for them. So Matt, I wanted to introduce you, give us a little bit of your background, your story, and then also let's dive a little bit into, how you guys are utilizing that within your clinics.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you guys all for joining. My name is Matt Lowe. I started in the fitness industry at 13 years old. I did my first bodybuilding show 7 days after I turned 14. My dad was like, "Hey, you should do a bodybuilding show." I'm like, "I don't even know what that is." He's like, "It'll keep you out of trouble." Kind of. And so I competed. I won Mr. High School Colorado at 14 years old. And I was like, all right, I'm hooked on this. The gym was that was my anti-anger route as a young kid. And so was able to put on a lot of mass. I got my first sponsorship at 15 years old. I remember my dad pulling up with our Suburban, and they stacked that whole thing full. And, my friends were like, what is going on? I don't even know. Like, I just did this bodybuilding show. And honestly, for me, I was hooked. I was hooked because in bodybuilding, it comes down to exercise and nutrition, right? And once you understand how you can manipulate your body composition with nutrition, it's fascinating. And so that led me to building multiple fitness brands, both physical brick and mortars. But I really started to get heavy into tech. I didn't even have a computer really growing up until I got to college when I got my first desktop. And from there, I was hooked. And I realized that the things were shifting and changing in the industry, right? People started using phones and apps, and met my wife in college 16 years ago, hired her to work for me, and we 6x'd our business in a matter of 5 months. So I married her. Any of you guys out there that have one of those, keep them. No, but from there, we actually raised millions of dollars in funding, my wife and I, in 2013. And we were actually going through a tech accelerator here in Boulder, Colorado. At the same time, a company in Vancouver, Canada called Trainerize was actually being developed. And so we all got kind of hooked together through the Global Accelerator Network. And lo and behold, decided to leave our own startup and join kind of the beta and demo teams for them, because of what we were building. And ours had a lot more nutrition, and theirs was originally just fitness related. And so we've done amazing. We've done over 13,000 transformations in 22 countries with one of our past companies. But we still work on an enterprise level with Trainerize. I think it's a fascinating tool when you understand how to leverage it beyond just a workout app. But that's progressed into what we do now. And that is we own multiple hormone, peptide, and medical weight loss clinics. We service most of North America. We're opening different locations, 4 more locations this year, from the West Coast to the East Coast, to kind of set up our hubs. But me as a natural bodybuilder, when I met Dr. Hamilton, who started this clinic 9 years ago, I was speaking at an event on systems and automation, right? That's what my wife and I specialize in, is building automation systems for small business owners to help them be more efficient and effective. And so when we came in, I'm like, well, where's all the supplements? He's like, oh, we don't really sell a lot of supplements. And I'm like, man, that's all I know how to sell, And so for me, for the 3 years that we've been partnered, and co-owners now in that brand, I've been on a search. And lo and behold, a while ago, last summer, I get a random text from Justin Prince, and he's like, hey, you guys do peptides? I'm like, yeah. He's like, let's get on the phone. Couple questions in, I quickly realized he was not asking me about peptides for himself. I'm like, all right, these aren't normal questions, bro. Where are we going with this? So I signed a little NDA. He showed me what we were doing. And just like Mark and Tangi and everybody on this call have said, like, I dove into the science with our medical staff and our medical team. And they're like, this seems fascinating. You have to understand, like, even though in the clinical setting, I would say 95% of the population doesn't want to stick themselves with a needle. And so for me, I felt like if we could find a natural peptide component and offer both a nutraceutical as well as what we do as a pharmaceutical, it gave us a really massive playing field that we didn't have before. And frankly, I'm probably more excited about what we do now with the Make products inside of our clinical setting, and with our members and with our patients, than I think I do with, again, the GLP-1s, but we do a lot of other peptides, dozens and dozens and dozens of different peptides, right? And they all have their place. But like we've all heard, they're extremely expensive. I mean, our lowest peptide starts at almost $400 a month. That's almost all 6 of these for monthly, right? And so the compound effect that you get here for your money is completely different. I'm not going to get into all of that, but on the clinical side of it, inside of our clinic, it has actually been a massive add-on. I think Nick was just here a minute ago dropping off some stuff at the North location, and he was like, man, I think we did four boxes or 5 boxes of Fit today. And I'm like, this is crazy, And so we have a kind of a system that we go into. I don't know if you want me to kind of talk about that now, or if that's
No, we won't go into that right now.
I won't go into that. I'm gonna leave you guys all on a cliffhanger. Did you have a specific question, Nate, that you want me to kind of dive into on that component, or?
Just the like, how did you guys get into utilizing the products themselves? Like that conversation, when you're allowing them to make a decision, what's best for them?
I think to us, it's really easy. I mean, if you ask the right questions, they lead themselves to their own answer, right? I mean, for an easy one in our office is like, well, are you okay with needles? 5 times out of 10, it's no. Okay, great. We're going to go this route. Are you, we do things based on blood work and then goals and budget, right? Your budget really dictates what we can do inside of the clinical setting. Well, now when people are like, well, I need to be under 500, we've got an entire stack of nutraceuticals that can put them on, right? Which is like, we just didn't have that before. And so on the pharmaceutical side, it's extremely expensive. I mean, we have dozens of members that spend well into the thousands every single month. And so again, like Mark was saying, they're designed to be long in the system, right? But we have seen side effects, unfortunately, from individuals coming from other clinics that don't have that regulatory oversight, that aren't looking at it from like the health component, right? It's just, let's get people in and out. And it's a pill mill, right? And, you can call it a needle mill, whatever you want to call it, right? It's just people come in through that. And so what we're seeing now in our conversations, it's actually an easier, and I don't want to say pitch, but it's the easiest way to explain it. It's a very simple pitch when it comes to what we're doing with Make versus what we do in a clinical setting. Don't get me wrong, we're always going to have that clinical side of it. But for us to have the nutraceutical side of it, I mean, we just brought it in, a couple months ago, and it's tens of thousands a month for us, which is insane to see that, which gets me very excited because, again, as somebody who really has spent his whole life in the world of natural bodybuilding, all we had was supplements, food, and exercise, right? Now we have access to these other things, but with this, it's a very easy introduction. I will say this one caveat: not all clinic owners are open to it. They're not. I hate to say it. Even some of my own friends that they see what we're doing, and it's like it doesn't matter that they see it. They're like, nope, want nothing to do with it. We're just going to stick with this pharmaceutical. That's fine. I keep dripping on them. I keep watering them. A little bit, and we even got questions this afternoon. I'm like, oh, I see it. I hear them. They're starting to go, okay, this is interesting. So, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, love it. Well, let me do this, you guys. Let me close this down and tell you, where can you go from here? And I think the most important thing is to get back and with the person that invited you. Here's one of the things that I would do is we believe you need to be a product of the product. The great thing about this business is you don't have to pay to play, right? But what we've got here is a launch pack. You can see at the bottom, it's $449. It's a $900 value. So because there's so much going on social media, we created an unboxing experience where you get a really cool bottle that has our Make Wellness on it. You can mix it up and you utilize the orange and the blue colors. We have the opportunity also when you get that box that you have a 10% head start towards our trip, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute, and the opportunity to earn a $500 shopping spree along with $100 off our next event. So once a year, we have an event where we have Dr. Mark and we have all the high-level leaders and everybody, like we talked about, Neurotos coming in so that we can hyper educate you guys. The other thing I want to talk about really quick is our comp plan. One of the things when Justin sat down and he said, if we're going to do this, we got to do it at a high level and we got to do it different than everybody else. We understand that direct sales as a whole has kind of gone downhill the last 5-10 years. But you know what's gone up? Affiliate marketing. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to pay commissions very high on the affiliate side. And so you can see here, you pay up to 40% on the commissions to your customers on that affiliate side. Here's the other cool thing. Let's say you're a trainer and you get another trainer involved. Their personal purchases also count towards your commissions and you can make up to 40%. Now, if they go out and start to build a team, you're making 8% on the team that they're bringing on, as well as there's up to $100,000 in team bonuses. So here's the reality of anything, just like in sports is, nothing comes easy. Everything is work in order to earn where you get. What we like to do is we like to create stepping stones. And so here's how we break it down is we're going to help you make $100. Now, if you got that pack that I just talked about, that's $449. That's $449 towards the $500 you're selling to make $100. If you do $1,000, you're making $200. If you do $2,000, you're making $500. And if you do it in your first month, they're going to add a $500 shopping spree as well. So think about that. You sell $2,000, you make $1,000 back. It's pretty stinking cool. And then here's one of my favorite things I like to say in this type of company is we like to walk the beaches of the world. We like to go to places where we get to rub shoulders. We get to be around people that think like we do and want to take their not only their results, but who they are to another level to impact other people. So if you've watched this and you're interested, get back with the person that invited you. But here's the last thing I want to do is I want to create a little sense of urgency because for the last 4 months, we've been in what's called a pre-launch. And so the company said, you know what, because we know in a pre-launch, things are going to shift a little bit. We're going to toy with the systems. We're going to try, different things to really settle on where we're going to land. 4 months to the end of March, basically, they said, we're going to do a founder's bonus where we're going to pay out an extra $103,000, the option to earn that much over the next year. So if you sign up, if this is something you're interested in, make sure that you're asking the person that invited you because time is of the essence. If you sign up the 31st, you have the ability to earn that extra $103,000. If you sign up on the 1st of next month, then that goes away. So thank you guys so much for taking a look at this. I know that if you decide to settle on this, you're going to be successful. You've got a lot of people here that are here to support you and in a company that is doing things that no other company ever has before. Love you guys. We'll see you later.